study along with me, otherwise it's very tough. Live? Yes. Sir, very happy evening to all. Sir, I think it's live now. Students in live, please confirm whether audio, video, everything is clear. If that is the case, my dear lovable students, we can move further. Happy evening, sir. Fantastic, sir. Prabhagar Murthy, Abhishek Kannan, happy evening. Those who are in live, please ensure that everything is fine. Please text. Is everything fine? Yes. Yes, sir. One person has confirmed. Can you please one or two? I'll just proceed to Sarkar. Happy evening, sir. Audible, sir. Yes, sir. Fantastic. Yes, sir. Sir, now we are going to see Sarkar. S stands for Sarkar is a target. Sir, very happy evening to all. Sir, in this class, today's class, we are going to talk about Sarkar. You know, where we are standing is A stands for agriculture and art related, B stands for bridge, C stands for cab, D stands for diplomatic mission, and E stands for electricity. This is our set number 1. Then F stands for financial services, G stands for goods and GTA, red with courier agency, H stands for healthcare services, I stands for insurance and immovable property. Then after I, J stands for jungle. The next set man, K stands for knowledge, L legal services, M stands for Mecca, N stands for NCCCD, O stands for other events, P stands for pension related services, Q stands for, R stands for regulatories and registered charitable trust under section 12 AAR, and the next alphabet is S stands for Sarkar. S stands for Sarkar means government. Sarkar means government. Sir, there are 2 chapters we are going to talk about: services provided by government and services provided to government. Services provided by government and services provided by government. This is summary, man. Actually, this has to be at the end, but I keep it at the first. I will come to the summary at the end. Sir, services provided by government. Services provided, how you have to understand this exemption is, government are there for the welfare of the people. Government are there for the welfare of the people. So any services provided by government or local authority are fully exempted. Any services provided by government or local authority are fully exempted. Tell me, any services provided by government or local authority are fully exempt, except for services. Except, so services provided by central government, state government, union territory, or local authority are exempt from GST. This is the general exemption. So any services provided by government or local authority are fully exempted, except these 4 services. Except this. That means if these 4 services are provided by government or what authority? Local authority, then my dear lovable students, it is commercial in nature. It is what? Hence it is taxable. Hence it is what? Number 1, services provided by Department of Post. Services provided by. So if the service provider is Department of Post and Ministry of Railway, Ministry of what? That is what railway? Indian Railway. What railway? So 2 people, 2 department I have mentioned. Number 1, services provided by the Department of Post and services provided by the Ministry of Railway. What railway? Indian Railway are taxable. Because what is our general exemption? Services provided by government or local authority are fully exempted, except for services. Number 1, services provided by Department of Post, services provided by Ministry of Railway, that is Next one, services in relation to aircraft or vessel. Services in relation to either inside or outside the presence of the port or an airport. That means, sir, you are providing services in relation to aircraft or vessel, in relation to either inside or outside the presence of the port. We have heard this word presence. Sir, services provided by a religious entity, presence of a religious entity to a what public? General public, which is owned or managed by registered charitable trust under section 12AA or 1023 C series organization or 1023 are exempt from. So presence means are surrounded by, basically. So service in relation to what or what? Aircraft or vessel, either inside or outside the presence of a port or an airport are taxable, taxable, taxable. The next one, sir. Transportation of what and what? Goods or passengers are taxable, taxable, taxable. Or any other service. Any other service means the service is not covered in 1, 2, and 3. That's what other services, other than services covered in A to C above, provided to a what entity, are taxable, taxable, taxable. So like this we can say, any services provided by government or local authority are fully exempted. The logic for this exemption is government or local authority are existing for the benefit of the people. But if they are providing 5 services, from that 4, I am classifying into 5. Number 1, services provided by Department of Post, services provided by Indian Railway, services in relation to aircraft or vessel, either inside or outside the presence of a port, or transportation of goods and passengers, or any other services provided to a business entity. These 5 services are taxable, taxable, taxable. This is the background of discussion. So, what we have to understand, my dear lovable students, any services provided by government or local authority is fully exempted, except how many services? 5 services. Number 1, services provided by Department of Post, services provided by Indian Railway, services provided in relation to aircraft or vessel, either inside or outside the presence of a port or an airport, services provided transportation of goods and passengers, services, other services other than the 4 services provided to a what entity? Business entity. What entity? Okay, fine. So, if you take one example, what you have to understand, any services provided by Department of Post are taxable. Any services provided by Department of Post are, it's not like that. For everything, we are having exemption. That is covered under section what? 11. How we have studied, G stands for goods. Transportation of goods by road, except what and what? GTA and courier agency is what? Exempt from GST. That means when we read initially, we understood that any services provided by GTA is exempted. Sorry, it's taxable. But even for GTA, we were having what? Some exemptions were there. Like that, for every 5 category, we are having what? Exemption. That's what the first one, man. The first discussion is postal services. What services? Services of postcard, inland letter by postal department. So services by department post by way of postcard, inland letter, book post and ordinary post. But for that ordinary post, envelope weighing less than how much gram are exempt from what? GST. So don't think that any services provided by Department of Post are taxable. Even they are also having what? The exemptions are, if they are providing the services by way of what card? Postcard, inland letter, book post and what post? Envelope weighing less than how much gram? 10 gram are what from tax? Exempt from tax. That means ordinary post more than 10 gram? Taxable. Less than 10 gram? Exempted. Only that weight category is applicable only for the what post? Ordinary post. So for other posts like postcard, there is no weight concept at all. For inland letter, there is no weight concept at all. For book post, there is no weight concept at all. But only for what post? Envelope weighing less than 10 gram are, that means only 4 things are exempted. 4 things are for a postal department. Number 1, postcard, inland letter, book post, and ordinary post. Don't stop with ordinary post. Ordinary post envelope weighing less than how much gram? Sir, are you really with me, sir? So transfer of money through money order, operation of savings account, issuance of postal order, pension payment, and such other services are also exempt from what? GST. Because these are basic services given by the what office? Post office. These are basic services given by the, like what? Money order. Sending what order? Money order. Or operation of what account? Or issuance of what order? Postal order. Or what payment? Pension payment. Or such other services are, sir, service by way of what post? Ordinary post. Envelope weighing how much gram or above? Or what post? Registered post, speed post, express parcel post, life insurance, and agency services provided to a person other than government or local authority are not exempted. That means taxable. That means what? You tell me registered post is taxable or exempted? Taxable. Speed post, taxable. Agency services, taxable. Life insurance services, inland letter, exempted. Book post, exempted. Ordinary post up to 10 gram, 10 gram or above, taxable. Sir, next one, sir. Life insurance services, taxable. So service provided by police or security agency of government to public sector undertaking or private business are not exempt from GST. This is not relating to the postal services. So what should be the background in which you are supposed to study this? What is the opening sentence? Any services provided by government or local authority are fully exempted except 5 things. That means these 5 things are taxable. Number 1, services provided by Department of Post, services provided by Ministry of Indian Railway, services in relation to aircraft or vessel either inside or outside the presence of the port, services in relation to port or airport, services provided in relation to transportation of goods and or any other services provided to a business entity. Business, any other services means other than these 4 services. Are you all really with me? So what understanding we will get from this is any services provided by Department of Post is taxable. It is not like that. Even for Department of Post, they are having what? Exemption are there. This is the exemption, man. Services by Department of Post by way of what card? Postcard, inland letter, post, book post, and ordinary post, envelope weighing less than 10 gram are exempt from. That means basic services of post office are exempted, and other than basic services of post office are, what are the basic services, sir? Transfer of what order? Money through money order, or operating what account? Savings bank account, issuance of what order? Postal order, pension payment, and such other services are. So these are basic post office services. Basic. So post office, sir, services provided by what of Post? Department of Post. Department of what? Post can be classified into how many categories? 2 categories. They will engage in 2 activity. Number 1, basic post office services. Are you all really with me? And other than basic post office services. Other than basic. What is basic post office services, sir? Basic post office services are, sir, by postcard, inland letter, book post, and ordinary post. All these are issuance of what order? Postal order. Issuance of? These all are issuance of what order? Postal order. So if they are issuing, sir, postal order, it is what from GST? Because in order to issue postal order, only they have started the postal department, right? And next one is transferring the what order? Money order. What order? The next one, you can send money from, sir, one to another by post office, right? So one you can send postal order, other you can send money order. The next one, the basic activity is operation of what account? Savings account. How you are starting an account in bank, the same way you can start an account in where? Post office. Then actually service has been provided by post office. It is exempt from GST because it is a basic what services? Post office services. Number one, issue of postal order. Number two, issue of money order. Number three, savings account. Next ones are pension payment. What payment? Sir, if you are having an account in the post office, in that account, sir, your pension will credited. So that pension will be transferred to you. Even that is also what? Exempt from what? GST. Whereas other than basic post office, sir, the answer is sale. Answer is what? Sale. S-A-L-E. S stands for speed post. S stands for? A stands for agency services. A stands for? L stands for life insurance services. L stands for? And E stands for express cargo services. Express cargo. Sir, example shortcut is sale. Sale is taxable. Sale is what? So how you have to see the services provided by Department of Post? Services provided by Department of Post classified in how many category? Basic post office services, other than basic post office services. Basic post office services are issue of postal order, money order, operating savings account and pension payment. These are basic post office service. These are exempt from. But in this postal orders, you have to see whether it is what order or what order. Registered post or ordinary post. Right, sir? In that registered post are taxable. Whereas ordinary post up to the weighman of 10 gram is exempted. 10 gram or above are taxable. Comfortable? Whereas other than basic post office service like sale, these are commercial. S stands for speed post, agency services, life insurance services and express cargo are taxable. Sale is taxable. Sale is what? We'll give you an example how to apply this exemption, my dear lovable students. Jambulingam Street Post Office provided the following services to person other than government. Because if a post office providing service to a government, it is exempted because they are inside the department, right? During the month of March, all charges are exclusive of GST. Services by way of postcard, 1 lakh, taxable, exempted. Exempted because it is one of the basic. So postcard services are exempted. Comfortable, sir? Service by way of ordinary post, envelope weighing less than 10 gram. Exempted. Sir, service by way of ordinary post, envelope weighing less than 10 gram are exempted. Comfortable, sir? Service by way of ordinary post, envelope weighing exceeding 10 gram. Taxable. So this 4 lakh is taxable. Services by way of ordinary post, envelope weighing exceeding 10 gram are liable to what? Services by way of registered post, envelope weighing less than 10 gram. For registered post, no such gram concept will be applicable. Gram concept will be applicable only for the ordinary post. What post? You look at here, ordinary post, 10 gram. Sir, only for ordinary post, 10 gram concept will be applicable. But for what post? Registered post, irrespective of the weight, it is liable to GST. So for this 5,50,000, it is liable to what? GST. Service by way of registered post, envelope weighing less than 10 gram, liable to GST. Comfortable, sir? Distribution of mutual fund, bond, passport application, these and all are called as agency services. What services? Sale is taxable. S stands for speed post. A stands for agency services, means they are doing something in extra. Actually, for this, they have not started the post office. They are, sir, selling the passport application. Is passport application has to be sold by the post office? No. So they are acting as an agent of passport company, right? So this 5 lakh is liable to what? GST. So distribution of mutual fund, bond and passport application are liable to what? Collection of telephone and electricity bill. Is it the duty of the post office to collect telephone and electricity? No. We are having telephone department. We are having electricity department. Again, post office is acting as a agent. So this 1 lakh rupees is what? Taxable. Collection of telephone and electricity bill is liable to what? GST. Speed post services, taxable. Sale is taxable. So this 5 lakh rupees is taxable, my dear lovable students. So 5 lakh rupees is taxable. Speed post services is liable to GST. Express parcel post sale is taxable. So this 2 lakh rupees is what? Taxable. Express parcel post liable to GST. So the value of taxable supply comes to 22 lakh. They want only value of taxable supply. They don't want the GST payable since the rate has not been given in the question. Very comfortable, sir. So what you have to understand, or how you have to understand this exemption? It's a big exemption. S stands for what? Sarkar. Sarkar means government. That chapter classified into two categories: services provided by government and services provided by government. How you have to understand? Generally, this thought should be there in your brain. Government are existing for the welfare of the what? People. Hence, any services provided by government or local authority is exempt from. But tomorrow, even the government or local authority may also do commercial activity, right? Sir, this activity will be done by the private people also, like transportation of what and what? Goods and passengers, like Department of Post. Sir, next one, service in relation to aircraft or vessel either inside or outside the presence of the port or a what? Airport. So any other services provided to a business entity, my dear lovable students, if this service has been provided by private people, it is liable to GST. If these services provided by government, if it is exempted, automatically everyone will, sir, only go for the government services, because there won't be any GST. Hence the cost will be less. So what government said, that even we do commercial activity, it is liable to what? GST. 5 departments are there who are engaged in what activity? Commercial activity. Number 1, services provided by Department of Post. Number 2, services provided by Indian Railway other than first class and AC, right? First class and AC are taxable, even though, sir, they are also engaged in transportation of goods and passengers, right? Number 3, service in relation to, sir, aircraft or vessel either inside or outside the presence of the port. Or what port? Airport. Then transportation of what and what? Goods or passengers, or any other services provided to a what entity. So what understanding we will get at this point is, any services provided by these 5 people are taxable. Like that we should not think, because even individually for one people, they are having their own exemption. Number 1 is Department of Post. Department of Post classified into how many category? 2 category. Basic post office of services, other than basic post office services. Other than basic post office services means, for that you have not started the post office, but still you are doing some other activity, that is liable to what? Like sale. SALE. S stands for speed post, agency services, life insurance services, and express cargo services. Those are liable to what? GST. But you are doing issuance of what order? Postal order. In that 2 types of orders are there. Number 1, registered post and ordinary post. Registered post always taxable. Ordinary post weighman less than 10 gram or 10 gram or more. Less than 10 gram exempted. 10 gram or more is taxable. Comfortable, sir? Money orders, sending money order are what? Exempted. Say operation of savings account is exempted. Then pension payment services are exempted. Sir, that means sale is taxable. Other than sale is exempted. Comfortable, sir? This is what the services provided by Department of what? Post. What is the second department? Services provided by Indian Railway. There is no specific exemption given under section 11 or section 6 for what railway. So how we can summarize? Any services provided by Indian Railway are taxable. Or what? Taxable. Or what? So services provided by what of Post? Department of Post are taxable, subject to exemption under section 11 of the what Act? CGST Act, and section 6 of the what Act? So I cannot say that any services provided by Department of Post are what? Taxable. Because, sir, for Department of Post, we are having exemption, which are covered under Section 11 of the CGST Act or Section 6 of the. So we can say that, my dear lovable students, services provided by Department of Post is taxable, subject to what to? Section 11 of the what Act or Section 6 of the what Act? IGST Act. But for services provided by what railway? Indian Railway. There is no specific exemption which has been given under Section 11 or Section 6 of the what Act? CGST Act or IGST Act, as the case may be. That means we can summarize like this: any services provided by Indian Railway are taxable. Sir, there is no specific exemption for what and what? Aircraft and vessel. Then we can say that any services provided by aircraft or vessel in relation to, sir, in relation to aircraft or vessel, either inside or outside the presence of the port, are taxable. Comfortable, sir? But for transportation of what and what? We are having big exemption. We are having what? Big exemption for goods and also what? Passenger. For goods, we are having G stands for goods, and passenger, we are having cab. That exemption of cab and passenger not only applicable to private people, but also applicable to whom? Government. That means metered cab or auto rickshaw, railway other than first class and AC, monorail, metro, tramway, inland waterways, public transport other than predominantly for tourism purpose in a vessel which is situated in a place between India. That is exempt from what? Air embarking or terminating from the states of Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Sikkim, Nagaland, Tripura, Bagdodra in an economy class are exempt from. Non-AC contract carriage and non-AC stage carriage are exempt from. If these modes of transport are operated by government, even government services are also exempted. Sir, with regard to G stands for goodsman, transportation of goods by road, except what and what? GTA and courier agency. That means if tomorrow government is transporting goods by road, that is exempt from what? GST. That is exempt from. That means G stands for goods and C stands for cab are mutatis mutandis applicable to government also. In addition to that, my dear lovable students, transportation of what and what? Goods and service by way of granting what permit to a goods carriage. For example, there is a lorry. For that lorry, government is giving what permit? National permit. To operate throughout India or contiguous states are exempt from what? That means you are a GTA, you are having a lorry, your lorry need national permit. You are paying some consideration to get that what permit? National permit. So the service is provided by government or local authority in relation to transportation of goods or passengers. Right, sir? To get the what permit? National permit, you have paid some consideration. That is exempt from what? So that is the extra exemption in addition to what and what? Cab and goods for this item. So this is issue of what permit? National permit. Issue of national permit are exempt from what? So we are going to discuss the last one. So come on, what is the understanding, man? Sir, in order to understand Sarkar, sir, the basic thing what you should have in your brain is any services provided by government or local authority are fully exempted except 5 services. Number 1, services provided by Department of Post, services provided by Indian Railway, services in relation to aircraft or vessel either inside or outside the presence of the port, transportation of goods and passengers, or any other services other than the 4 services to a what entity? Business entity. So by now we will having an understanding that any services provided by these 5 people are taxable. That understanding should not be there. Because under section 11 of the CGST Act or under section 6 of the, for respective people, respective exemption has been given. For Department of Post, they said that, sir, Department of Post services classified into how many category? Basic post office services and other than basic post office services. Basic post office services are exempted. Other than basic post office services are, question arises, what and all are basic post office services? Like issue of postal orders, issue of, operation of savings account, and pension payments. These are basic post office. In order to perform this, only the post office has been started, hence it is exempt from. But in the postal orders, two type of postal orders are there: registered post and ordinary post. Registered post will be sent by people who are having lot of money, hence registered posts are taxable. Ordinary posts less than 10 gram weight are exempted. More than 10 gram or 10 gram or above are. Whereas after you started a post office, if you are doing a commercial activity, if you are selling something, sale is what? Taxable. What is the full form of sale? Speed post, agency services, life insurance services, and express parcel post. Are you having a pakka clarity of services by Department of Post? So we can say that services provided by Department of Post is taxable, subject to exemption covered under Section 11 of the CGST Act or Section 6 of the. That's it with regard to Department of Post. Coming to Indian Railway, there is no specific exemption, my dear lovable students, for what railway. So any services provided by Indian Railway are taxable. Comfortable, sir? Next one, services in relation to what or what? Either inside or outside the presence of the port. There is no specific exemption under Section 11 or Section 6 of the IGST Act. So we can say that any services provided in relation to aircraft or vessel, either inside or outside the presence of the port, are taxable. Next one, transportation of goods and passengers. That means government is transporting goods and passengers from one place to another. We are having lot of exemption for goods. We are having G stands for goods will be applicable. Hello, sir. For passengers, C stands for cab will be applicable. In addition to that, national permit issued by the government, for the goods carriage, that is for lorry, for that government will get consideration. It is exempt from what? So we can say that services provided by government or local authority in relation to transportation of goods and passengers are taxable, subject to the exemptions which are covered in Section 11 of the CGST Act or Section. Sir, these are specific services. Services by Department of Post, services by Indian Railway, services in relation to vessel or aircraft, and transportation of what and what. These four things are specific. For example, services relating to aircraft or vessel, not all the services. Services by Department of Post, it is specifically applicable only to department. Now, any other services, any. That means that service should not be covered in the first four category. Sir, to a what entity? Business entity, to a. So government is providing other services other than Department of Post, other than Indian Railway, other than aircraft or vessel, other than transportation of what and what? Passengers or goods. To a what entity? Business entity is taxable. Is what? Is what? So for those, since it is not one specific services, lot of what are there? Services are there. There are 15 exemptions are there. There are how many exemptions? That's what I have given as exemption number 1, exemption number 2, exemption number 3, exemption number 4, and exemption number 5. I call it as part number 1. Sir, after that, I'm starting as part number 2. Exemption number 6, exemption number 7, exemption number 8, exemption number 9, exemption number 10. Then I'm calling it as part number 3. Exemption number 11, exemption number 12, exemption number 13, exemption number 14, and exemption number what? 15. Hello, sir. There are 15 exemptions are there. Why, sir, 15 exemption? Because the service is other services. Other services means it may be 10,000 services or 10 crore services also. Out of that, 15 services are exempt from GST. It's a big list, man. It's not like Department of Post. It's a specific service. It's not like Department of Indian Railway. It's a specific exemption. It's not like any other. This is a big category. So, 15 services provided by government or local authority to a business entity are exempt. The remaining are only taxable. What we have said it is any services provided by any other services provided by government or local authority to a what entity are taxable, subject to to exemptions which has been issued under section 11 of the CGST Act or section 6 of the comfortable, sir. So what are the exemption number 1? Exemption number 1. Services provided by central government, state government, union territory or local authority. Or what authority? That means service provider is government or local authority. To another central government, state government, union territory or local authority are exempt from. That means one government is providing services to another government is exempt from what? GST. Sir, we are talking about services, other services provided by government or what entity? To a what entity? For that only we are looking for the exemption. In that, why are you talking about, sir, government or local authority to another government or local authority? You know what is the definition of business entity? Business entity means any person who are conducting business or profession. Tell me. Business entity means any person who are conducting any person who are conducting business. What is the definition of person? Person definition classified into 3 categories. Mokka set, individual, HUF, AOP, BOI, LLP. Corporate set, corporation, body corporate, company, society, cooperative society. There. Central government, state government, local authority, trust and AJP. That means even government is also a person. So government is also a what entity? Business entity. So if one government or local authority is providing service to another government or local authority, it is exempt from. So service provided by central government, state government, union territory or local authority to another central government, state government, union territory or local authority is exempt from. However, nothing contained this entry shall apply to service referred to in Clause A, Clause B, Clause C. What are the clauses, man? Come on here. This is what Clause A, Clause B and Clause C. These are the Clause A, Clause B and Clause C. What is Clause A? Services provided by Department of Post and services provided by Ministry of Railway. That is Indian Railway. Then service in relation to aircraft or vessel either inside or outside the presence of the port. Services provided by way of transportation of what and what. For these 3 services, that exemption will not be applicable. Hello, sir. That means if these 3 services are provided between government, that is liable to what? But even in that, Department of Post said that between government are exempted. Even in that, sir, between government are exempted. So, my dear lovable students, what they are trying to say. However, nothing contained this entry shall apply to service referred in Clause A, Clause B, Clause C. So, what is the first exemption? Services provided by one government or local authority to another government or local authority are exempt from GST. However, this exemption will not be applicable to Clause A, Clause B, Clause C. I'm moving to the second exemption, man. I will stop once I discuss the 5 exemption, then I will give time for your revision. Services provided by the central government, state government, union territory or what authority, where the consideration for such service does not exceed how much? That means service provider is government or what authority, and service recipient is a business entity. But the value of supply does not exceed how much? 5,000. The consideration does not exceed 5,000. It is what from GST? What government is saying that it is not material. It is not material. Materiality concept. Once you apply materiality, consideration is only 5,000 means not a big service has been provided by government or local authority to a what entity? Business entity. So service provided by central government, state government, union territory or what authority, where the consideration for such service does not exceed 5,000 is exempt from. However, nothing contained this entry shall apply to service referred in Clause A, Clause B and Clause C. That means service has been provided by Department of Post to a business entity. Department of Post to a business entity. Don't check whether the consideration is less than 5,000 or more than 5,000. Even though it is less than how much? 5,000, it is liable to what? GST. Hello, sir. And number two, service, sir, in relation to aircraft or vessel, either inside or outside the presence of the port. Don't check whether it is, sir, less than 5,000 or more than 5,000. This is only applicable to the last limb, that is other services provided by government or local authority to a. For that only this exemption will be applicable, not for the first three things, clause A, clause B, clause C. Comfortable, sir? Further, in case of continuous supply of services, what supply of service? We have not discussed the term what is continuous supply of service. Any service which the service provider is providing more than 3 months, such a service is called as, for example, you are having mobile phone, you are having SIM card. You would have taken from Jio or Aircel or Airtel, whatever it may be. Are you changing the SIM card daily basis? No, sir. Weekly basis? No, sir. Monthly basis? Yearly basis? Till some problem or issue is there, you are not changing, right? So, my dear lovable students, they are providing continuous supply of service. What service? Sir, continuous supply of service means they keep on providing the service. It's a contract. It's a what? So further, in case where the continuous supply of service is provided by central government, state government, union territory or what authority, then exemption shall apply only when consideration charged for such service does not exceed rupees 5,000 in a what year. That means in case of continuous supply of service, my dear lovable students, you have to see the limit on a financial year basis, not on transaction basis. Not on. If you start seeing on transaction basis, everyone will fall in exemption. Because every transaction may be less than 5,000. What government is saying that please don't see on what basis? Transaction basis. Please see on financial year basis. So with regard to continuous supply of services, the limit of how much, man? 5,000, sir, should not, sir, see on transaction basis. Should see on financial year basis. Comfortable, sir? Two exemption we have done. What is the first exemption? Sir, services provided by one government or local authority to another government or local authority is exempt from. However, this exemption will not be applicable to clause A, clause B, clause C. Fantastic to the core. Exemption number two. Services provided by government or local authority to a business entity where the consideration does not exceed 5,000 is exempt from. However, this exemption will not be applicable to clause A, clause B, clause C. Whereas in case of continuous supply of services, don't see the 5,000 limit on a transaction basis. See the limit on a. Fantastic to the core. I'm coming to exemption number three. Services provided by central government, state government, union territory or local authority to a what entity? Business entity. To a what entity? With an aggregate turnover of up to such amount in the preceding what year? Financial year. As make it eligible for exemption from registration under CGST Act or what from GST. The same exemption we studied in L stands for legal services. L stands for? The same exemption is repeating for Sarkar also. But this exemption is not there in GTA. Are you able to appreciate or understand? So, service provided by government or local authority to a what entity? Whose turnover in the immediately preceding previous year does not exceed threshold limit for registration are exempt from. So, repeat once again. Services provided by government or local authority to a business entity whose turnover in the immediately preceding previous year does not exceed threshold limit for registration are. But explanation, it is hereby clarified that provisions of entry shall not apply. Anyway, exception will be there to clause A, clause B, clause C. What is clause A? Services provided by Department of Post and services provided by. Right. What is clause B? In relation to aircraft or vessel, either inside or outside the presence of the port or airport. What is clause C? Transportation of goods. Sir, for those services, sir, this threshold limit exemption will not be. Services by way of renting of what property? Immovable property. For renting of immovable property, this threshold limit exemption will not be applicable. Comfortable, sir? Sir, exemption number 4. Services provided by central government, state government, union territory or what authority? by way of registration required under any law. Under the Companies Act, you are registering a company. For that, you are paying some fees to the ROC. Sir, for that, there is no what? GST. Or testing, calibration, safety check or certification relating to protection or safety of worker, consumer or public at large, including what license? Required under any law for the time being in force are exempt from what? GST. So these are specific things government are saying. So government is saying that we are providing service to a business entity by way of registration required under any law. For example, you are taking GST registration. For GST registration, for example, if you are paying any fees, that is exempt from what? GST. You are taking, sir, Companies Act, ROC registration, it is exempt from what? GST. Or testing, calibration, safety check or certification, these are exempt from what? GST. So these are specific services provided by the government or local authority to a business entity, whereby registration required under any law, testing, calibration, safety check or certification are exempt from what? Sir, services provided by central government, state government, union territory or what authority? By way of issuance of passport, visa, driving license, birth certificate or death certificate are exempt from what? This is not only to a business entity, let it be to any person, including what entity? Business entity. Tomorrow you are going and taking a passport, visa, sir, driving license, birth certificate, death certificate are exempt from what? GST. Comfortable, sir? There are 5 exemptions. I am trying to recall. These 5 exemptions only, my dear lovable students, I have given as a table in the start, which I am calling as part number 1. Services provided by one government or local authority to are exempt from. Services provided by government or local authority to a business entity whose consideration does not exceed 5,000 are exempt from. Service provided by government or local authority to a business entity whose turnover in the So third exemption, services provided by government or local authority to a business entity whose turnover does not exceed threshold limit for registration are exempt from GST. The fourth exemption, 4 things are there. Services provided by government or local authority by way of registration, calibration, testing, safety check are services provided by government or local authority. Fifth exemption, 5 things are there. Issue of birth certificate, death certificate, passport, visa and license are exempt from what? GST. Comfortable, sir? Here I am breaking. Sir, for that I am consolidating once again. What is the exemption we are talking about? Sarkar. S stands for Sarkar. What is the chapter classified in 2 categories? Services provided by government, services provided. How you have to understand? Any services provided by government are fully exempted except 5 services. Actually, that 5 we have classified like this. Basically, only 4 are there. Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D. But Class A we have split into 2 categories. One is Department of Post and Department of Railways, Indian Railways. Comfortable? So, any services provided by government or local authority are fully exempted except 5 services. Number 1, services provided by Department of Post, services provided by Indian Railway, services in relation to aircraft or vessel either inside or outside the presence of the port or airport, transportation of goods and passengers, or any other services provided by government or local authority to a business entity. You know one thing, in this services provided by Department of Post, who is the service provider? Department of Post. Department of, who is the service recipient? Any person. Let it be public business entity or any person. Let it be any person. Hello, sir. So tomorrow you may send a registered post through post office. Possible? Possible. You may collect a passport application through post office. Possible. Is that registered post and passport application taxable? Exempted. Taxable, sir. Are you a registered person or unregistered person? Unregistered person. Is it possible for you to take registration to get a passport application from the post office? No, sir. That means for this service, RCM will not be applicable. FCM should be applicable. FCM should be applicable. That means service provided by Department of Post is FCM. FCM only practically possible because Department of Post is one body. They are providing service to the whole India. Hello? Whole India cannot take what? GST registration. But the Department of Post can take, and they can collect GST from the general public. Clarity? Next one, services provided by what railway? Sir, you tell me, in order to travel in railway, in first class and AC, if the government is saying that you have to take compulsory registration under GST, is it practically possible? No, sir. So this is also what CM? FCM. Sir, this should not be what CM. Service in relation to aircraft or what? Vessel. Sir, for an aircraft or vessel, some problem is there. Now recently happened something in Trichy. In Trichy airport, 2.5 hours, one aircraft was rounding in Trichy because of the hydraulic problem. The landing, the wheel was not going inside. Pilot immediately recognized. Once he fly high, it would have been a very dangerous situation. So, once they fly high, lot of fuel will be there because that flight is going from Trichy to Dubai or Bahrain or someplace. Sharjah, exactly Sharjah. So that much fuel will be there in that aircraft, right? With the same fuel, if they land back, hello sir, there is a chance of bursting the aircraft. That's why 2.5 hours that pilot was trying to reduce the weight of the aircraft. That's what he was doing. He very well know that I'm going to land back. So at the time of landing back, sir, that much fuel should not be there. Just to reduce the weight of that, yes, 24 times or 25 times, sir, yes, rounded the Trichy. So at that time, some problem is going for the aircraft. Okay. So service is going to be provided by the government or local authority to that aircraft or vessel, either inside or outside the presence of the port or what port? Airport. Actually, they were outside the presence of the port. At that time, government of India, if they say that, hey, take a mandatory registration under GST, then only will provide the services. Hello, sir. Is it practically possible? No, sir. So for this also, sir, RCM concept will not be applicable. What only will be applicable? FCM will be applicable. Again, transportation of goods and passengers. In order to travel in train or in order to transport goods in train, sir, the recipient has to take compulsory registration, means that is not practically possible. So even for this also, RCM will not be applicable. Only FCM will be applicable. Comfortable, sir? Sir, that means out of how many services? 5 services. The first 4 services are always what CM? FCM. There is no question or there is no concept of what at all. So, services provided by Department of Post are FCM. Services provided by Indian Railway are FCM. Services provided by in relation to aircraft or vessel are FCM. Services provided by Department of goods or passengers are what? FCM. Sir, these two actually clause number what? This is clause number B. This is clause number C. Clause A, clause B, clause C are what CM? That is why in every clause D exception they are saying that this exception is not applicable to ABC. Because even though the consideration is less than 5,000, we will collect GST from you. Why are you worrying? Because it is not what CM, RCM, it is what CM. Only this is taxable at what CM. That means any other service provided to a what entity? You may be a registered person or unregistered person. If you are a registered person, pay tax at what CM? If you are an unregistered person, fall under section 24 what registration? And take the registration because since you are a business entity, for you registration will be useful. But Department of Post recipient, Indian Railway recipient, aircraft or vehicle recipient, goods or passenger recipient, everyone won't be a what entity? So that responsibility we will take care. That is why the first 4 services, technically 3 services, my dear lovable students, class A, class B, N, are what CM. Whereas the class D is what CM, RCM. That is why in every exemption they are saying that. If you read that once again, services provided by one government or local authority to another government or local authority are, our nothing contained this entry shall apply to class A, class B, class C. Comfortable, sir? Next one, sir. Service provided by government or local authority where the consideration for such service does not exceed how much? You just think a situation, there is a business entity, they got service from government or local authority where the consideration itself does not exceed 5,000. If they are registered person, no problem, they can pay tax at RCM. If they are unregistered person, they have to take what registration? For an amount of 2. Government said that is exempt from GST. However, this exemption will not be applicable to class A, class B or what? Because these are not going on what basis? RCM basis. These are going to be based on even 100 rupees service provided by Department of Post from business entity. We will collect GST. Why are you worrying? Hello, sir. In relation to aircraft or, sir, what? Vehicle, we will collect GST. Why are you worrying? With regard to transportation of goods and passenger, we will collect GST. We will not ask you to pay tax on RCM. That is why that 5,000 limit is not applicable to the 4th one. Comfortable, sir? Sir, able to appreciate or understand? Yes, sir. The 3rd one, sir. Service provided by government or local authority to a what entity? Business entity. Business entity whose turnover in the immediately preceding previous year does not exceed what? Threshold limit for risk. That means you are a dash person, unregistered person. Unregistered person. You got service from government or what entity? Local authority. You tell me, sir, will you get daily service from government or local authority in a business? No, sir. As A&M classes, whether I have to get daily the Stalin government services or the Modi government services? No, sir. I would have got in the start to get a license or to start a business, to get a permission. Yes or no? Yes, sir. Whenever there is legal problem, then only I will go to the advocate. That's why even for the legal services and also for the government services, they kept a threshold exemption notification. Whereas for GTA, this exemption won't be there because GTA is a direct expenses. GTA is it is related to your goods. So, even though your NSR turnover does not exceed threshold limit for registration, you have to compulsory take registration if you are getting a GTA services, which is a GTA who does not opt to travel through FCM. And if you are a 7 specified person located in taxable territory, my dear lovable students, mandatory to take compulsory registration. If you are unregistered person, take the registration. But because of getting legal services, because of getting government services, we will not force you to take what registration? Compulsory registration. If your turnover in the immediately preceding previous year does not exceed threshold limit for registration, it is what from GST? Exempt from GST. Exempt from GST. Are you all really with me? That's what they said, that class, this is not applicable to class A, class B, class C. Why? Class A, class B, class C will be travel through what CM? FCM. You don't worry. We will collect GST from you. So you may have a doubt. Sir, now I am paying GST. No, sir, as a business entity, I can take it as what? ITC. Don't worry, sir. Treat it as cost. Treat it as your, if it is a capital goods, sir, include that in the value of the capital goods and claim depreciation under section 32 of the PGBP. If it's a revenue cost, debit that item to the P&L account and you can claim it as a reduction. Comfortable, sir? And services by way of renting of what property? If it is renting of immovable property, we don't want RCM. We don't want RCM. This provision will not be applicable. Renting of what property? Immovable property. So, what is that renting of immovable property? Service is provided by government or local authority to a what entity? Business entity. Actually, that business entity is not, sir, whose turnover does not exceed threshold limit for registration in the immediately preceding. Then it is what from GST? Exempt from GST. But if that business entity has taken renting of immovable property from government, even though you are what? Unregistered person, take the what registration. Why? Because this is not a one-time service. Renting of immovable property means long-term. With our service only you are doing business. Hello, sir. Why we have given exemption earlier is, are you able to appreciate logically, man? Because one time if you are getting service because of the government service, we will not force you to take compulsory registration. But renting of what property means, immovable property means it is not for one day. It is for the life of the business. Hello. Even though your aggregate turnover does not exceed threshold limit for registration in the immediately preceding previous year, take the compulsory registration under section 24 and pay tax at RCM. Comfortable? That is why the reason for exception. Sir, if I don't say the first 4 services, again I am saying technically 3 services are what CM? FCM, and only the last service is what? RCM. You will not be able to appreciate why this exception is not there. It will be like, no, sir, this exemption will not be applicable to class A, class B, class C. Hello. The last one, man. 4 services. Specific 4 services provided by government or local authorities exempted. Services provided by government or local authority by way of registration required under any law, testing, calibration, and safety check. Because here they are using only or. They are using only calibration, safety check, or what? Certification. So 4 letters or only 4 words are only we need. So number 1, registration, testing, calibration, safety check are exempt from. So 5th point, this is not only to a business entity, to any person including a business entity. They only said that service provider is government or local authority. They don't say service recipient is only business entity. So service recipient may be any person. Inside that any person, who is there? Business entity is there. Hello, sir. Sir, passport, visa, driving license, birth certificate or death certificate are exempt from GST. Tomorrow, sir, I'm starting A&M Associates. I'm having 100 employees are there. I am taking passport for those 100 employees to travel from Indian branch to the foreign branch. For that passport services, even though I am a business entity, I am not liable to pay tax at RCM. RCM concept will not be, because this is exempted. This is what? So there are 5 exemptions we talked from Sarkar. I believe that you are feeling comfortable. Number 1, sir, services provided by one government or local authority to another government or local authority. Number 2, services provided by government or local authority to a business entity whose consideration does not exceed. Service provided by government or local authority to a business entity whose turnover in the immediately preceding previous year does not exceed threshold limit for. Service provided by government or local authority by way of registration, calibration, testing or safety check are exempt from. Service provided by government or local authority by way of issuance of birth certificate, death certificate, passport, visa and license are. I will tell you one thing, my dear lovable students. Take a break of 20 minutes. In this 20 minutes, what you are supposed to do is, you have to revise the Sarkar, whatever I told to you. I will come back after 20 minutes. I will revise the same thing again. And I will move into the part number 2. Sir, in part number 2, we are having how many exemption? Another 5 exemption. And also part number 3. In part number 3, we are having another, how much more exemption? By completing the 10 exemption, we can say that services provided by government comes to an end. We may also provide services to government, like services provided to central government by way of transportation of passengers by air through regional connectivity airport scheme, for which the consideration has been paid by way of viability what funding are exempt from. That is a service provided to government. Service provided. Like that, there are various services are there. Those services we'll be discussing after the break. So 20 minutes of a thorough revision, my dear lovable students, of the 5 exemption from start. Sir, we'll be meeting in live after 20 minutes. I hope that you are able to appreciate or understand Sarkar, a very, very important slot for examination. Lot of exemptions are there. Revise 20 minutes and come back. Now time is 5:55. You can take it as 6 man. We will be back by 6:15, 6:20. We'll be back. So be live. Sir, I hope that it is live again. Please confirm that whether video, audio, everything is perfect, my dear lovable students. Sir, is everything perfect? Is video, audio, everything perfect? Say yes or no, sir. We'll start the proceedings. Yes, sir. Perfect, sir. Fantastic. Thank you, sir. Thanks for your confirmation. Right. So I hope that you would have revised S stands for Sarkar. So I'm repeating once again for your benefit, man. Sarkar, services provided by government and services provided to government. Services provided by government, how you are supposed to understand is any services provided by government or local authority are fully exempted except 5 services. Number 1, services provided by Department of Post, services provided by Indian Railway, services provided in relation to aircraft or vessel either inside or outside the presence of the port, transportation of goods and passengers, or any other services other than the 4 services to a business entity is taxable. In this 5 services, my dear lovable students, the first 4 services are FCM and the last services is RCM. Last services is RCM. So what we understood, any services provided by Department of Post is taxable. No, it is not like that. Even for Department of Post, we are having exemption covered under Section 11 of the CGST Act or Section 6 of the IGST Act. What is Department of Post is saying? Department of Post services classified into 2 categories: basic post office services and other than basic post office services. If it is basic post office services like issue of postal order, issue of money order, sir, operation of the savings account and the pension payment services, those are exempt from. Whereas other than basic post office services such as sale, sir, speed post, agency services, life insurance services and express parcel post are taxable. Sale is taxable. Comfortable, sir. That's it with regard to, sir, services provided by Department of Post. That means services provided by Department of Post are taxable at FCM. Hello, sir. Now, number 2, sir, services provided by Railway Department. There is no specific exemption are there. That means we can conclude that any services provided by Railway Department are taxable at FCM. Next one, services provided in relation to aircraft or vessel either inside or outside the presence of the port or an airport are taxable under FCM because there is no specific exemption applicable to that also. The next one, services provided, sir, in relation to transportation of goods, and for goods we are having G stands for goods, for passenger we are having C stands for cab, and in addition to that, services provided by way of national permit to a goods carriage, sir, to operate throughout India are taxable or exempted? Exempted. The last one, man, other services. Other services means other than class A, class B, class C services provided by government or local authority to a business entity are taxable at RCM. Taxable at RCM. So, in that all services are there, but for that there are certain exceptions are there, which we have discussed in part number 1. Service provided by government or local authority to another government or local authority are exempt from GST. However, this exemption will not be applicable for class A, class B and class C services. That means class A, class B or class C item has been provided by one government or local authority to another government or local authority. It is taxable. Next one. Services provided by government or local authority, sir, where the consideration does not exceed 5,000 is exempt from GST. However, this exemption will not be applicable for class A, class B and if the service is a continuous supply of service, don't see the service on a transaction basis. See the service on a. Next one, service provided by government or local authority to a particular business entity whose turnover in the immediately preceding previous year does not exceed threshold limit for registration are exempt from. However, this exemption will not be applicable to class A, class B, class C and services by way of renting of immovable property. Next one, services provided by government or local authority by way of registration required under any law. or testing, calibration or safety check are exempt from. The last one, services provided by government or local authority to any person by way of issuance of passport, visa, driving license, birth certificate and death certificate are exempt from. I'm moving into part number 2. I hope that you are comfortable with the flow of the Sarkar. The next 5 exemption from part number 2 and another 5 from part number 3 is the target. Exemption number 6. Services provided by central government, state government, union territory or local authority by way of assignment of right to use natural resources to an individual farmer for cultivation of plant and rearing of all life form of animal except the what of horses. Because rearing of horses is not an agriculture produce for food, fiber, fuel, raw material or other similar products are exempt from GST. That means, for example, there is a piece of land. This land has been given for lease by the government or local authority to an individual farmer for the purpose of doing agriculture. It is exempt from. So, service provided by the central government, state government, union territory or what authority by way of assignment of right to use natural resources, by way of assignment of right to use this natural resource, take this land for lease, take this building to whom? To a what farmer? Individual farmer. For what purpose? Not for the purpose of marriage, for cultivation of plant and rearing of all life form of animals except the rearing of what? That means it is for the purpose of agriculture. For food, fiber, fuel, raw material or other similar products are, that means service provided by government or local authority by way of allocation of natural resources to an individual farmer for the purpose of agriculture are exempt from. So answer to my basic question, who is the service provider? Government or who is the service recipient? Individual farmer. What is the service? What is the service is assignment of right to use natural resources. Assignment of right to use resources. Sir, for what purpose the service should be used? Agriculture purpose. Then it is exempt from GST. 4 things should be satisfied. Number 1, service provider should be government or local authority. Service recipient should be individual farmer. Service should be assignment of right to use natural resources. And that natural resource should be used for the purpose of agriculture. Then it is exempt from. Next one, man. Service provided by governmental authority. So the service provider is governmental authority. Service provider is governmental authority. By way of activity in relation to any function entrusted to a municipality under Article 243W of the Constitution are exempt from what? See, there itself we studied it is neither supply of goods or nor supply of what? Services. Here, if any service has been provided by governmental authority, not by central government, state government, that is covered in what? Negative list. That is covered in negative list. As per section 7, subsection 2, we discussed that, sir, notwithstanding anything contained in the provisions of subsection 1, any activity or transactions, sir, which are specified in schedule 3, or such activities or transactions undertaken by the central government, state government or local authority, in which they are engaged as public authority, as may be notified by the government on the recommendation of the council, shall neither be treated as supply of goods nor be treated as supply of services. So, my dear lovable students, in that, services by what authority? Governmental authority. There, neither supply of goods nor supply of services. We studied central government, state government, local authority. That is neither supply of goods nor supply of. Here it is, sir, services provided by governmental authority by way of statutory function entrusted to a municipality under Article 243W of the Constitution is what from GST. So even though the service are done by governmental authority, the service are statutory function entrusted to a municipality under Article 243W of the Constitution are exempt from. That means if this service has been provided by central government, state government or local authority, it is neither supply of goods nor supply of services. Comfortable? But if it has been done by governmental authority, then it is exempt from. Next one. Services provided by governmental authority by way of an activity in relation to a function entrusted to a panchayat under Article 243 what of the Constitution? G of the Constitution. That means if this service has been provided by central government, state government or local authority, it is neither supply of goods nor supply of. But if the statutory function entrusted to a municipality under Article 243W of the Constitution is done by governmental authority, it is exempted. It is what? There it is not exempted. There it will not be treated as either supply of goods or supply of. So we are talking about exemption number 6, 7, 8. 3 exemption done. Shall we recall? Sir, services provided by government or local authority by way of assignment of right to use natural resources to an individual farmer for the purpose of agriculture are exempt from GST. Next one, services provided by what authority? Governmental authority. What activity they are doing? Activity in relation to a statutory function entrusted to municipality under Article 243W of the Constitution are exempt from. Next one, service provided by governmental authority by way of an activity in relation to a function entrusted to a panchayat under Article 243G of the Constitution are now service provided by central government, state government, union territory or local authority by way of tolerating non-performance of a contract. Tolerating. For example, sir, one government have entered into an agreement to construct a bridge within 1 year, but the contractor has not completed the construction within 1 year. So, the non-completion of the contract, who is, sir, tolerating? Government is what? Tolerating. So, service provided by central government, state government, union territory or what authority? By way of tolerating what performance? Non-performance of a contract for which the consideration in the form of fine or what damages is payable to the central government, state government, union territory or local authority under such contract are exempt from what? For example, one government is entering for construction of an overbridge with a construction company. Government said that you are supposed to complete the construction within 2 years. If you don't complete the construction within 2 years, sir, you are supposed to pay fine or liquidated damages of 1 crore. So actually, government is providing a service. What service they are providing? Tolerating an act. Tolerating an act is also a supply of service. Because in Schedule 2, we have studied that if you are doing something, that is a supply of service. If you are, sir, not doing something, refrain from an act is a supply of service. Tolerating an act is a supply of service. Doing something is a supply of service. Not doing something is a supply of service. Comfortable, sir? So, government is tolerating the act. That is a supply of service. To tolerate that act only, you have compensated the government by way of fine or what damages. It is what man exempt from. So, read the exemption. Services provided by central government, state government, union territory or what authority? By way of tolerating non-performance of a contract for which consideration is in the form of fine or liquidated damages is payable to the central government, state government, union territory or local authority under such contract are 4 exemption we have done. Number 1, services provided by government or local authority by way of assignment of right to use the natural resources to an individual farmer for the purpose of agriculture are exempt from. Services provided by dash authority, governmental authority by way of statutory function entrusted to a municipality under Article 243W of the Constitution are exempt from. Sir, services provided by governmental authority by way of statutory function entrusted to a panchayat under Article 243G of the Constitution are. That means if the same service are provided by central government, state government or local authority, it is neither supply of goods nor supply of. But if this has been provided by governmental authority, it is exempted. That means it is a supply, but for the time being, it is a exempt supply. Next one, sir. Services provided by government or local authority by way of tolerating non-performance of a contract for which the consideration has been paid by way of fine or liquidated damages are exempt from GST. The last exemption from set number 2. Service provided by central government, state government, union territory by way of deputing officers after office hours. After whatever. Or on holidays for inspection or container stuffing or such other duty in relation to import export cargo on payment of merchant overtime charges are exempt from what? For example, a ship is coming from Australia to India. That ship has arrived on Sunday. Sunday is a holiday, or on August 15th is a public holiday. During that time, customs officer will not be there in the customs places, right? We can't say to the ship that, hey, go tomorrow, sir, go now and come after tomorrow. Hey, they came from Australia, man. Can they go back to Australia now and can they come back? No, sir. So what we can do is, we can ask the customs official to come on Sunday. They will come. But for that, they will ask some extra consideration, like salary. That is not bribe. Hello, sir? That is called as merchant overtime charges. What it is? Merchant. So, service provided by what government? Central government, state government, union territory. What service they are providing? By way of deputing whom? After the office hours. Generally, the office hours is 6 o'clock, but the ship is coming at 7 o'clock. We are asking that officer, please be here till, sir, 2 more hours. I'm ready to pay you whatever charges you are saying, right? Or on what days? For what purpose? Either for inspection the aircraft, inspecting the, sir, vessel or boat or etc. Or what stuffing? Container stuffing or such other duty in relation to what cargo? Import, export cargo. On payment of merchant overtime charges are exempted. So who is the service provider? Government. Who is the service recipient? Any person, including a business entity. What is the services they have provided? They have deputed the officers after either office hours or holidays. For that, we have to pay a consideration. That consideration is called as merchant overtime charges. That is what from GST. So basically, we have done 10 exemption with regard to the last part, right? How to recall the 10 exemption, man? Sir, we have classified into 3 sets, part 1, part 2, part 3. Part 1, tell me, the first exemption. First exemption. Service provided by one government or local authority. Like that you say. Service provided by one government or local authority to another government or local authority is exempt from GST. This is the first exemption. That's why one government or local authority to another government or local authority. Second exemption, 2 things are there. 2 things relating to statutory limit. Number 1, service provided by government or local authority to a business entity whose consideration does not exceed 5,000 are exempt from GST. This is the limit exemption. One more limit exemption is there. Service provided by government or local authority to a business entity whose turnover in the immediately preceding previous year does not exceed threshold limit for registration are exempt from GST. So we reach the 3 exemption. The 4th exemption is 4 things. Services provided by government or local authority by way of registration, calibration, testing and safety check are exempt from. The 5th exemption are 5 things. Service provided by government or local authority by way of issuance of birth certificate, death certificate, passport, visa and license are exempt from GST. Comfortable? Coming to the second set of exemption, man. Services provided by government or local authority to a dash farmer. Look at here, the first one, again in set number 2, individual farmer, because this is set number 2. What farmer? By way of, sir, allocation of natural resources for the purpose of agriculture are exempt from GST. Next one, next 2 things are statutory function, statutory function. How? Here we are having limit and limit. The next 2 are statutory function entrusted to a municipality, sir, under Article 243 what of the Constitution. And statutory function to a panchayat under Article 243G of the Constitution. If these activities are performed by governmental authority, then it is exempt from GST. The next one, man, sir, fourth one is F stands for fine. Fine or liquidated damages. Why are you paying fine or liquidated damages? Because for tolerating non-performance of a contract. Who is tolerating? Government or local authority. Why they are tolerating? Because you have not completed the contract on time. So tolerating non-performance of a contract is exempt from. Next one, merchant overtime charges. For that you are paying, sir, for deputing officers after what hours? Office hours. or on Sundays or holidays, you are paying some consideration called as merchant. Shall we recall all the 10 exemption in one shot? Number one, sir, service provided by one government or local authority to another government or local authority is exempt from GST. Services provided by government or local authority to a business entity whose consideration does not exceed 5,000 are exempt from GST. Service provided by government or local authority to a business entity whose turnover in the immediately preceding previous year does not exceed threshold limit for registration are exempt from GST. Service provided by government or local authority to any person by way of registration, calibration, testing, safety check are exempt from. Services provided by way of issuance of birth certificate, death certificate, passport, visa and license are exempt from. Service provided by government or local authority to a individual farmer by way of allocation of natural resources for the purpose of agriculture are exempt from. Service provided by governmental authority by way of statutory function entrusted to a municipality under Article 243W of the Constitution are exempt from. Service provided by a governmental authority by way of statutory function entrusted to a panchayat under Article 243G of the Constitution are. Services provided by government or local authority by way of tolerance of non-performing of a contract for which a consideration has been paid by way of fine or liquidated damages are exempt from. Services provided by government or local authority by way of deputing officers after office hours or holidays or Sundays for which a consideration has been paid by way of merchant overtime charges are exempt from. I'm coming to the next set, man. The last set, the last 5 exemptions. Are you all really with me? Exemption number 11 is the target. Service supplied by central government, state government and what territory to their undertaking or public sector undertaking by way of guaranteeing the what? Taken by such undertaking or PSU from banking company or financial institution are exempt from what? For example, sir, there is a public sector undertaking. Sir, there is government or what authority? Local authority. There is public sector undertaking or government company. This public sector undertaking or government company need 500 crore loan. They went to SBI and they have asked the loan. SBI, please provide us 500 crore loan for our project. That SBI bank has asked that, who is your guarantor? Then the state government or the central government said that, we are ready to provide the guarantee for this loan. That means if this concern has not repaid the loan, we will repay the loan. For this service, actually this public sector undertaking has to pay guarantee fee. What fee? That is exempt from. What is a service? So service is provided by central government, state government, union territory, either to their undertaking or public sector by way of dash the loan taken by such undertaking or public sector undertaking from banking company and financial institution are exempt from. So who's the service provider? Government or local authority. Who's the service recipient? Their undertaking or what service the government has provided? Guaranteeing the loan. For that, this, sir, their undertaking or public sector undertaking should pay a consideration of guaranteeing fees. For that, there is no GST. For that, there is no GST. Are you all really with me? Next one, sir, exemption number what? 12. Supply of service by a dash entity to central government. Sir, till now, we were talking about something. Now, we are going to provide service to central government. To whom? Central government. So, service, supply of service by government entity. So, who's the service provider? Service provider is equal to the central government, state government, union territory, local authority, or any other person specified by the central government, state government, union territory, or what authority. So, service recipient is equal to central government or state government or any other person notified by the central government or state government against consideration received from central government, state government, union territory in the form of what? Grant. Government grant are exempt from GST. So, who's the service provider? Government entity. For example, I am a public sector undertaking. I am providing service to government. So, the recipient is the central government, state government, or any person notified by the central or state government, for which they are paying consideration. Who's paying consideration? Central or state government. And the consideration is by way of what grant? Government grant is exempt from what? You tell me, sir, here, in this case, who's the service provider? In exemption number 11, who's the service provider? Service provider is equal to central government or state government. Government or local authority. Basically, we can take that government or local authority. Who is the service recipient? Their undertaking or public sector undertaking. Actually, who has to collect, who has to pay consideration? Public sector undertaking has to pay consideration to the government. If they collect GST from the government itself, they are collecting GST and they have to pay GST to the government itself. Government said that it is exempt from GST. Here, my dear lovable students, service provider is government entity and service recipient is central government or state government. Right, man? Yes, sir. So, between their undertaking, they don't want GST. Hello, sir? Because service provider is central government, service recipient is either their undertaking or public sector undertaking. Sir, government is collecting GST from their own undertaking. They said that we don't want. Because you are not an outsider, you are an insider to us. Now, the second scenario, service provider is government entity and the service recipient is central government or state government. You are collecting GST from central government or state government itself. And for whom you will pay? They said that it is exempt from GST. Here, this exemption is, we don't want to collect GST from our own kids. Because service provider is central government or state government and service recipient is either our own undertaking or public sector undertaking. They said that for this service, for the guaranteeing the loans service, it is exempt from what? GST. The number 2 is, sir, the kids are going to collect GST from the parent. Who's the parent? Government or local authority. So government said that, why are you collecting GST from us? Because once you collect GST from us, you have to pay back to the parent itself. Hence it is exempt from. The first one is parent to the kid transaction. Second one is kid to the next one, man. Number 3. Service by old age home. Service by, sir, run by entity registered under 12AA of the income tax, 12AB of the Income Tax Act, or central government or state government. There you have to add it, man. Central government or state government. To its resident aged how much years or more? 60 years or more. Against consideration up to how much rupees? 25,000 per month per member, provided that consideration charged is inclusive of charges of boarding, lodging and maintenance are exempt from what? The same exemption we have discussed in regulatories, that is registered charitable trust under section what A? 12A. We discussed that there is a what age home. In that old age home, if that old age home is run by the registered charitable trust under section 12A or 12AB or central government or state government, where the residents are how much years or more? 60 years or more. And the consideration per month per member does not exceed 25,000. It is exempt from what? That means per month per member is more than 25,000 means liable to GST, because per month per member more than 25,000 means, sir, it's like a 3-star 5-star hotel. It is not a Mudiyor Illam, right? What they are saying that only people who are having lot of money will pay per month, sir, more than 25,000. It is liable to what? GST. Comfortable, sir. So how many exemption? 3 exemption we have done in this slot. Tell me what are 3 exemption? Services provided by government or local authority to their undertaking or public sector undertaking by way of guaranteeing the loan taken by such undertaking or public sector undertaking from the banking company or financial institution, are here the service provider is parent and service recipient is their kid. Exempt from. Next one, supply of service by a what entity? Government entity to central government. That means kid is the service provider and parent is the service recipient. And consideration has been received by way of dash grant, government grant, are exempt from. Next one, service provided by old age home, which is run by an entity registered under 12A or 12AB or central government or state government, where the resident's age should be how much or more? 60 years or more. And the consideration per member per month should not exceed 25,000 is exempt from. That means if it is more than 25,000 is taxable. We'll give you one example, man. Public Work Department of Karnataka. Public Works Department means PWD of Karnataka. Entered into an agreement with Mrs. ABC, a construction company, for construction of its office complex for an agreed consideration. In the agreement dated 10th July, it was agreed by both the parties that Mrs. ABC shall complete the construction work and hand over the project on or before EPO, 31st of December. It was further agreed that any breach of terms of contract by either party would give right to the other party to claim for damages or what? Penalty. Mrs. ABC did not complete the construction and did not hand over the project by specified date, that is on or before 31st of December. That means the government has provided a service. Can you tell me what service government has provided? Tolerating an act of non-performance. Hello, sir. As per the contract, department asked for damages or penalty from Mrs. ABC and threatened to go to the court if not paid. Resultantly, Mrs. ABC paid an amount of how much lakh to the department for non-performance of contract. Amount paid by Mrs. ABC to department is what from payment of tax? Exempt from payment of tax. Actually, this is an example for fine or liquidated damages. For non-performance of a contract is exempt from what? GST. Are you comfortable, sir? I'm moving into exemption number 14. Service supplied by state government. Who's the service provider? Service supplied by to excess royalty collection contractor. To excess royalty by way of assigning the right to collect royalty on behalf of state government on the mineral dispatched by the mining leaseholders are exempt from what? For example, my dear lovable students, sir, ERCC, excess royalty collection contractor, is exempt from what? GST. Sir, there will be state government. State government will give mining rights. What right? Mining right to the mining what holder? Leaseholder. So they can mine or dig, extract oils from one particular place. For this mining leaseholder is supposed to pay royalty. Is supposed to pay royalty. Two types of consideration they should pay, either fixed sum and additional sum. Fixed sum is otherwise called as dead rent. Fixed sum is otherwise called as, irrespective of the quantity mined, dead rent needs to be paid. Dead rent needs to be, that means I am state government, I am giving a particular place for mining. For that, the sir mining what holder, leaseholder should pay me a consideration called as royalty. Irrespective of the quantity of amount of mine they are doing, 1 lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakh, they have to pay the dead rent. For this, these guys are liable to pay tax at RCM. Which guy? Minor leaseholder. But if the mining leaseholder is mining beyond a limit, for example, more than 10 lakh, more than 10 lakh. For example, if they really mined 12 lakh, then for that extra how much lakh? 2 lakh, they are supposed to pay additional royalty. Such royalty is called as excess royalty. What royalty? So government has always have to, sir, see whether they are extracting more than 10 lakh or less than 10 lakh. Right? So government will do what they will do, you know, they will appoint one more person. State government will appoint called as excess royalty collection contract. Excess royalty. And what the state government will say, actually the right to collect the excess royalty is with the state government. That right we will give to you. You pay some consideration. You pay some consideration. Once you pay that consideration, my dear lovable students, hello sir, for that consideration, it will be exempt from what? Look at here, man. Service supplied by what government? To the excess royalty collection contractor. By way of assigning the right to collect what? Royalty on behalf of what government? Actually, that right was with the state government, but state government given that right to the ERCC. For that, ERCC is giving them consideration. Sir, it is exempt from what? For the mineral dispatched by the mining what holder? Leaseholder. Hello, sir. However, at the end of the what period? After the end of the contract period, for example, 3 year, 4 year or 5 year, the ERCC should submit an account to the what government? State government. And certify that amount of GST deposited by the mining what holder on royalty is more than the GST exempted on service provided by state government to whom? ERCC. On assignment of right to collect royalty, where right to collect royalty. For example, sir, here two transactions actually happening. State government is giving the right to the, no, not to the ERCC. First one, mine leaseholder. For that, no exemption is there. That is liable to be taxed by the mining leaseholder at RCM. Why? Because any other services provided by government or local authority to a business entity is liable to pay tax at RCM. And this mining leaseholder is not an individual farmer for allocation of natural resources for the purpose of agriculture. If that is the case, it would have been exempted. So for this, there is no exemption available. So the mining leaseholder who are situated in taxable territory is the person liable to pay tax at what? But government is having a problem. If he mined more than 10 lakh, because the contract is for mining how much lakh? 10 lakh. Till 10 lakh, they will get royalty. Fine, no problem. But if they mined more than 10 lakh, they want what royalty? For example, actually they have mined, instead of 10 lakh, if they mine 12 lakh units, my dear, for that extra 2 lakh units, sir, excess royalty has to be paid by the mining what holder. That mining leaseholder will never do, because he will hide the accounts. He don't want to say that I have mined more than how much lakh? 10 lakh. So two situation I will give you, man. Situation number 1, situation number 2. Sir, assume that the state government has given that right to mine to A&M Limited by paying for how many units? 10 lakh unit. Situation number 1, actually A&M Limited has mined only 9 lakh unit. But still A&M should pay dash rent, dead rent, which comes to how much crore? 100 crore. But they are not supposed to pay what royalty? Excess royalty. Why they are not supposed to pay excess royalty? They have not what? They have not, sir, extracted more than 10 lakh. So only 100 crores they are liable to pay royalty. And for this 100 crore, they are liable to pay tax at what CM. Whereas, my dear lovable students, for situation number 2, assume 12 lakhs units they have mined. If 12 lakh units they have mined, for the first 10 lakh units, they have to pay 100 crore dead rent. And for extra 2 lakh, some amount of royalty, I don't know what is the amount of royalty, some amount have to be paid. So 100 crore, first they will initially pay on RCM. And X amount they will pay on what? RCM. Hello, sir. Yes, sir. But can you expect the A&M Limited to be very genuine that, sir, more than 10 lakh rupees? No. So what the state government will do? Immediately they will enter into a contract with a person called as what? ERCC. For example, to the ERCC, they will say that give us 5 crore now itself. Give us 5 crore. You take the right. You take the right tender to collect the excess royalty. Now ERCC has paid how much? 5 crores. So actually this is a different transaction. State government need GST for this 5 crore. But they said that it is what? Exempted. Now the A&M Limited start extracting the minerals. And whenever they mined more than 10 lakh, excess royalty will be paid by the A&M Limited to the ERCC. And the GST on that excess royalty will be paid by the A&M Limited to the state government or the government. Comfortable? Assume two situation, man. Sir, if the ERCC has, sir, gave excess royalty of only 3 crore. How much ERCC amount paid? Upon 5 crore, GST is exempted. On 5 crore, GST is, but extra royalty, excess royalty paid by the ERCC, no, extra royalty paid by the A&M Limited to the ERCC is only how much crore? That means government got GST only on how much crore? But they exempted an amount of how much crore? There is a shortfall of how much crore? For this 2 crore, GST on 2 crore, ERCC should compensate. Now, in future, ERCC should pay GST for how much crore? Because government gave an exemption of 5 crore, but government got GST only on 3 crore. There is a shortfall of that shortfall GST should be paid by the alternate situation. Sir, how much the ERCC paid? 5 crore. On that 5 crore, GST exemption is provided by the government. But actually, the extra royalty has been paid is how much crore? That means on 8 crore, government would have received the GST. Right? Is there any shortfall or excess? So, government got GST for 8 crore. But the GST exempted is only on, there is no what fall, shortfall. Now coming and reading this line. However, at the end of the what period? That means once the contract is over, ERCC shall submit an account to the what government? State government, and certify that amount of GST deposited by mining what holder on royalty is more than the what exempted? GST exempted. Sir, state government, you have given exemption only on how much crore? But the, sir, mining leaseholder A&M Limited has paid GST on how much crore? That means your exemption is less only. Yes, sir. On the service provided by what government? To the whom? Of assignment of right to collect what? This is situation number one. And where such amount of GST paid by mining what holder is less than the amount of GST exempted. On how much amount GST exempted? But the A&M Limited has paid GST only for, there is a shortfall of, then exemption shall be restricted to what amount? As is equal to the amount of GST paid by the mining what holder. And ERCC shall pay the difference between what exempted on the service provided by what government? To the ERCC of assignment of right to collect royalty and GST paid by mining leaseholder on what? Royalty. Comfortable, sir? So, state government will provide service to whom? ERC, mining leaseholder, and also to ERCC. That mining leaseholder, no exemption is available. But for ERCC, sir, exemption is available. But he has to satisfy futuristic condition. He has to prove to the state government that the GST collected is more than the GST exempted. If there is any shortfall, for that shortfall, ERCC has to pay from his pocket later. Comfortable, sir? So this is service supplied by what government? To excess royalty collection what? Contractor. By way of assigning the right to collect what? On behalf of what government? On the mineral dispatched by mining leaseholder are exempted. Sir, this exemption alone, I have put as a separate video, which is concept of ERCC. If you want, you can go through that video for the full concept of ERCC. So, service supplied by what government? State government. To whom? ERCC. By way of assigning the right to collect what? Royalty. On behalf of what government? State government. Sir, dispatched by mineral leaseholders are exempted. So, what is the first exemption? 11th exemption. Services provided by government or local authority to their undertaking or public sector undertaking by way of guaranteeing the loan taken by them, sir, for which the consideration has been received by of guarantee fees are exempt from. Number 2, service provided by government entity to central government, state government, local authority, sir, for which the consideration has been received by way of government grant are exempt from. Service provided by, sir, old age home, which is run by registered charitable trust under section 12A or 12AB, central government or state government, where the resident's age is 60 years or more, up to a consideration of per month per member is 25,000 is exempt from. And next one, service provided by which government? To ERCC, excess royalty collection contractor, by way of assigning the right to collect what? On behalf of what government? On the mineral dispatched by mining leaseholders are exempt from. Moving into the last exemption, which we have already covered actually, man. Service provided by rehabilitational professional. What professional? Can you, sir, recall where we have studied this rehabilitational professional? H stands for healthcare services. Recognized under the Rehabilitation Council in India by way of rehabilitation, therapy, or counseling, and such other activity as may be covered by the said Act at medical establishment, education institution, rehabilitation center established by central government, state government, or union territory, or by NDT registered under 12AA or 12AB of the Income Tax Act are exempt from GST. Comfortable, sir? The Karnataka Cricket Association, Bangalore, requests the Commissioner of Police, Bangalore, to provide security in and around the cricket stadium for the purpose of conducting the cricket match. Sir, in Chepauk, cricket is happening. Whenever cricket is happening, so many police will come. For that, the person who are conducting the IPL will pay consideration to the police. It is not a free service. Hello, sir. The Commissioner of Police arranges the required security for an agreed consideration, and this is not bribe. This is a consideration. So the police department has provided supply to a business entity for which they receive consideration. In this case, service of providing security by police personnel are not what? Because nowhere we have studied the exemption. In 15 exemption, nowhere this is available. As a service are provided by government, Karnataka Cricket Association, a service are provided by our government, Karnataka Cricket Association is liable to pay tax on consideration paid under what charge mechanism? Because service provider is government, police department is under government, and service recipient is Karnataka Cricket Association. They are a business entity located in taxable territory. They are liable to pay tax on what charge basis? Reverse charge. So there are 15 exemptions are there applicable to Sarkar. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. Part 1. Service provided by one government or local authority to another government or local authority are exempt from. Service provided by government or local authority to a business entity where consideration does not exceed 5,000 are exempt from. Service provided by government or local authority to a business entity whose turnover in the immediately preceding previous year does not exceed threshold limit for registration are exempt from. Service provided by government or local authority by way of registration, calibration, testing and safety check are exempt from. Service provided by government or local authority by way of issuance of birth certificate, death certificate, passport, visa and license are. This is what part number 1. Very comfortable with part 1. Part number 2. Services provided by government or local authority to an individual farmer by way of natural resources. Assignment of natural resources to a which farmer? For the purpose of agriculture are exempt from. Sir, number 2, two statutory functions. Statutory function entrusted to a municipality under Article 243W of the Constitution are exempt from GST. Statutory function entrusted to a panchayat under Article 243G of the Constitution are exempt from GST. But this service has to be performed by governmental authority. Then service provided by government or local authority by way of tolerating an act for which the consideration has been received by way of fine or liquidated damages are exempt from GST. Services provided by government or local authority by way of deputing officers after office hours for which the consideration has been paid by merchant overtime charges are. The part 3, how to remember the part 3? The first one, G, guaranteeing loan. Only one G. G stands for guaranteeing. So service provided by government or local authority to their own entity or public sector undertaking by way of guaranteeing the loan for which the consideration has been received by way of guarantee fees are exempt from. Next one, number 2, second exemption, 2GG, government grant. Government. The first one, G, guaranteeing the loan. GG, government grant. Sir, I know that these are old style of teaching. Services by what age home? Old age home, which are run by registered charitable trust under section 12A or 12AB or central government or state government to its residents where age is 60 years or more, where the consideration per month per member does not exceed 25,000 or. Next one, fourth exemption, ERCC, excess royalty collection contractor. Service provided by state government to ERCC by way of assignment of right to collect the excess royalty is exempt from GST. If you need furthermore depth knowledge in ERCC, I'm having a separate lecture on ERCC. Please refer that. And rehabilitational professional. Rehabilitational profession, which may be, sir, run by the registered charitable trust under section 12A or 12AB or central government or state government are exempt from what? GST. Comfortable, sir? These are the 15 exemption applicable to what? Service provided by the government. By the government. So we can say that in Sarkar, 2 parts are there. Service provided by government and service provided to government. We have covered only service provided. But 80% to 90% of the exemption comes to an end. Because service provided to government is very less. Only 4 to 5 exemptions are there. So what you are supposed to do is, my dear lovable students, I will give you, sir, 30 minutes time of the revision of the S stands for Sarkar. Revise that Sarkar Paka. If you want to get the Sarkar, you have to revise now. Because if you lose the flow and if you are coming back, you have to again go through this entire video to get the grip how you have to study. First of all, what is exemption? That is a big deal. More than that, how to study this much big exemption matters a lot. The manner of studying is also very important for CA course. What to study, when to study, everything matters a lot. So my dear lovable students, take 30 minutes of break, and in the live students, service provided to government tomorrow morning, sir, we will be completing in the next class. Revise this for 30 minutes. Be very comfortable with the services, sir, provided by the government. Have a full revision of exemption, then only you'll be able to appreciate or understand. Let this class be alone service provided by the government. Sir, in life, my dear lovable students, I don't want to waste my time and also your time. That's why today we decided to do the, sir, IDT part. I hope tomorrow, if no rain is there, we'll conduct face-to-face class. If that is the case, in face-to-face, we'll be completing the exemption. Otherwise, in the same mode, 10 to 1 and 4:30 to 7:30, we'll be doing the, sir, the exemption. My target is tomorrow, I want to complete the exemption part. Sir, rain will come, rain will go. Red alert will come, will go. Diwali will come and go. There is no doubt. But in January, examination will also come. If you want to write in Jan, be dedicated for every day. It's very easy for me to say that today is leave, as the same way what I said in yesterday. But today I came for you. I'm doing the class for you. So take a break. Sir, be committed. Revise the entire exemption from first start till the end before you come to the tomorrow's class. So we'll meet you at the appropriate time, my dear lovable students. I hope that you are able to appreciate or understand the things in a very better way. If that is the case, personally text me 9605001043. Take care of yourself, especially your health.